Right now at 6, all eyes on a federal judge set to rule on whether to temporarily stop the president's move to deploy troops to Portland.
We were ready on day one, just didn't know when it would occur.
Plus, what the White House is now threatening after Portland police arrest a conservative influencer.
We will not fund states that allow anarchy.
Then local faith leaders weigh in and push to put politics aside.
There's a humane way for us to work together.
Yes.
And later, how an Oregon high school is asking for your help in order to build a brand new stadium. Well, thanks for sticking with us. I'm David Molko. We begin at 6 with Portland once again in the national spotlight, with the White House calling out Oregon and Rose City leaders and leaders pushing back. Let's bring you up to speed, starting with a federal judge who could rule any minute now on Oregon's motion to temporarily push pause on the president's move to deploy 200 National Guard troops. Plus, the White House calling out Portland police after they arrest a conservative influencer last night outside the ICE facility, how Chief Bob Day is responding, and how local faith leaders are pushing back against the Trump administration's narrative that Portland is a war zone. Once again, we have live team coverage beginning with Kyle Iboshi downtown at the federal courthouse. Kyle.
David, within the past 40 minutes, both the governor and the attorney general issued statements calling for patience as we wait for a decision on this temporary restraining order. Judge Karen Immergant suggested a ruling would likely come this evening or tomorrow, but as the hours pass, it seems more and more likely that decision won't come until tomorrow. It'll be posted on a court website.
Portland Mayor Keith Wilson had no comment as he walked out of federal court Friday following an emergency hearing to determine whether 200 National Guard troops can be deployed in the city. The state of Oregon and city of Portland are seeking a temporary restraining order to block President Trump from carrying out the deployment. Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield.
This is America. We don't believe that we should have the United States military on our streets, and we really believe that the president should follow the laws of our country.
The feds argued that the troops are needed to help protect the federal immigration office in South Portland. For several months, a small group of demonstrators gathered in front of the ICE office, leading to occasional clashes with federal agents protecting the building. Local law enforcement has not been able to respond to the situation, argued attorney Eric Hamilton from the U.S. Department of Justice. But when Hamilton started reading Trump's assessment of conditions in Portland posted on Truth Social, the judge interrupted, asking, "Really? A social media post?" A lawyer for the state of Oregon argued the deployment of the National Guard is based on a fictional narrative, and federalizing troops to help protect the ICE building is unnecessary and unlawful.
You have to understand that this is a president who's talked about normalizing the use of the military in American cities.
Outside the courthouse, a handful of people demonstrated with signs urging the National Guard to go home.
In court during that hearing, a Trump administration lawyer confirmed that troops are training right now. Senator Jeff Merkley suggested they'll be spending a few days prepping on the coast before being deployed to Portland, although that could all change depending on the judge's ruling.
Waiting for that any minute now. Kyle Iboshi downtown. Appreciate your reporting there. All right, let's talk about arrests now outside the ICE building, with Portland police making 3 last night, including someone who turned out to be a conservative influencer. Stephanie Domerod's here. Steph, this caught the attention of the White House.
Yeah, that's because one of the 3 people that Portland police arrested last night is Nick Sorter. So he is a conservative with a large online presence. Today, President Trump's press secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the U.S. Department of Justice is now launching an investigation into his arrest. Portland police say they watched fights break out last night, and just after 11 p.m., their officers arrested 3 people and charged them with disorderly conduct. Now, those cases have been sent to the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office for review. Sorter has been released from jail ahead of an arraignment on Monday. Today, Police Chief Bob Day says there is no political bias associated with their enforcement.
But instead of arresting these violent mob members night after night after night who are ravaging this community, the police arrested a journalist who was there trying to document the chaos, and everyone in this room should be extremely concerned about that. The Department of Justice spoke with that journalist this morning, and they will be launching a full investigation into his arrest.
I have always been very transparent and welcoming of critique and evaluation of the police bureau.
this direction that they are giving us, we will certainly comply with. We will provide the necessary information. I welcome the scrutiny.
Now, coming up tonight on The Story, we will have more from Portland Police Chief Bob Day, plus reaction online following the Police Bureau's arrest of that conservative influencer, what the DOJ is now saying today. That's tonight at 6:30.
So many threads to this story, and it just keeps growing. Appreciate it, Steph. All right, I want to bring in John Adams now, live outside the ICE facility on the South Waterfront. John, before we get to the other big news from the White House, threats to cut federal funding to Portland, I'd like to know, how's it looking on the ground right now?
Well, David, there has been some tense moments here on the ground of late. I'm going to back away so you can kind of see what's going on. There's about maybe a dozen or so protesters in front of the ICE facility right now, and things got tense just about 15 or 20 minutes ago when a protester was taken into custody by federal agents, was handcuffed and brought into the facility here. Now, getting back to what the press secretary said earlier today, she described the situation here at the ICE facility as being war-ravaged and talked about potentially cutting funding to the city of Portland because the administration says local elected officials are standing in the way of federal officers from doing their jobs here.
Despite the Democrat shutdown, President Trump's efforts to make America safe again continue.
At a briefing Friday, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt spoke about the ongoing protests outside Portland's ICE facility, calling Portland war-ravaged and under siege.
President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists.
Leavitt said additional Customs and Border Patrol and ICE agents will be sent to the Rose City and federal funding could be cut.
I just spoke with the president about this, and he has directed his team here at the White House to begin reviewing aid that can potentially be cut in Portland. We will not fund states that allow anarchy.
The mayor's office responded, saying it has not received any formal notice or directive requiring a response. The mayor went on to say the federal government should be focused on partnering with us to expand housing, create jobs, and bolster social services, not siphon vital funding from our economy during a government shutdown.
Bind us together, Lord.
Simultaneously, in Northeast Portland, local faith leaders pushed back on the president's decision to mobilize the Oregon National Guard, calling the move politicized and illegal.
It has real consequences for families, neighborhoods, businesses, and those that are already facing fear and uncertainty.
Reverend Dr. Leroy Haynes Jr. also called for civility by those choosing to protest.
We ask Portlanders to continue to the long-standing tradition of exercising their First Amendment rights to protest nonviolently. And don't go for the bait.
All right, all right.
The faith leaders also had this message for Oregon National Guard members who could respond to Portland.
And so we are praying for you and praying for your families and loved ones.
And Governor Tina Kotek did release a statement just in the last couple of hours saying pulling federal funding would harm the people of Oregon and be a dereliction of the president's duty to solve real problems. That's, of course, in reference to what the press secretary said earlier today about funding, federal funding possibly being cut here in Portland. Back here live at the ICE facility. Again, a dozen or more protesters out here right now, and we will continue to monitor what goes on here as we head into the evening hours. David?
Yeah, John Adams on a relatively quiet South Waterfront this evening. Thanks, John. Stay with KGW, of course, for continuing coverage of the president ordering the National Guard to Portland. We will update you as soon as we have the judge's decision tonight or tomorrow on whether to push pause on the deployment. Look for that on air on KGW.com and, of course, on KGW+. In your headlines this evening, a driver is facing criminal charges after authorities say he hit a traffic control worker on I-84 last night in Northeast Portland. Have a little trouble with the video and sound here. The victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The driver, authorities say, hit a barricade and stayed at the scene. Today we heard from ODOT, which wants to remind drivers of the law.
Whenever there is a situation where there are people who are working on or near a roadway, then drivers need to pay really close attention, slow down, make room for those people. It's a dangerous place to work.
Authorities say the driver, 20-year-old Gabriel Dorton, is charged with assault, reckless driving, and reckless endangerment. A man whose arrest was brought on by a vigilante group has now pleaded guilty to 2 counts of online sexual corruption of a minor. Police say 34-year-old Charles Mellick believed he was talking with a 13-year-old girl online and then traveled to meet her. He was arrested in March and has been in jail ever since. And nearly 300 workers at Cisco Portland are threatening to hold their own strike if the company cannot reach a deal with the Teamsters Union. Union drivers, mechanics, and warehouse workers voted nearly unanimously to authorize a strike anytime after their current contract expires. That's a week from tomorrow. The local union says it wants an agreement that matches the, quote, strong gains Teamsters have won at other Cisco locations. Okay.